Hey, welcome to my show, and let's get right into it. What I have here is a copy of a book called The Ideal Fitter by the American Radiator Company. And this, they came out every year in the early 20s for a long time. This particular one was copyrighted 1929 and is the 54th edition. And it shows a picture of the American Radiator building at 40 West 40th Street in New York City. And Dan Holohan talks about that building, and worth a read. You flip through and you see the coal-fired boilers of the era, red flash boilers, ideal smokeless pipe type, and so forth. We go through and we find the number one in air rid air valve. There's your slogan, air rid, and it is the main point of it was that it was a vent that was actually part of the radiator itself, and there was nothing that was screwed in like a typical radiator vent. This threads into the little hole on the side, and it's visible and easily replaced. This is the number one. The number two was vacuum, which was for coal, and it costs $1.85. And this is, see if we can, you want to freeze frame that if you want to read the information on it. See if that helps. I just happen to have the box here, the invisible air valve, and invisible air valve that ensures complete venting of radiator valves. And you remove the upper plug from the vent section of the boiler, insert the in air rid and make up tightly with arrow pointing directly upwards. Used flat-based wrench to prevent marring. Do not paint over. Dan Holohan talks about, and this is the part that you see, and Dan Holohan talks about if this is painted over, the radiator will stop heating, but by taking like a paper clip or something, and if you know where to poke, and if you know what you're looking at, you poke that hole out, and miraculously the radiator will start heating. And this is what it looks like new. So this is the part you see, and this is the part that you don't. And the idea is when you thread it in, this seals inside so that the air must go all the way to the bottom of the radiator and come out the vent here. So there are little screws here which are removable. And so I've taken that off. And this is the heart of the unit, which is the thermostatic element, stamped metal with solder. Inside of here is an alcohol mixture, which is put in a vat of boiling water. And as soon as it stops coming out, or the vapor stops coming out, they put a drop of solder in. It's taken out of the bath, and the solution condenses and forms a vacuum, sort of like the bottom of the old-fashioned oil can, you know, that have like that. And so when steam hits it, it flashes the liquid into steam at about 180 degrees because it's an alcohol water mixture. This distends, pushes against this pin here. This is set at the factory, so it's screwed in at the correct depth and setting and so forth, and then they put a drop of solder to hold it in place. This looks like felt here, not much to it. That goes against the section, and it's spring-loaded like so. And there's all the patent information, patent number, and the patent number corresponds to this number here, 1214443 by Mr. Egger. And it talks about a hot water radiator, which is, I guess that was the patent information. I guess the patentable idea that they refer to is the fact that it's part of the radiator and it's not exposed. And there's your verbiage, and it's witnessed by, I guess, his spouse. And don't know much about Mr. Goda. There's another version of it here inside, waiting to thread in the radiator. So sometimes if you have a radiator that's all of a sudden stops heating, this might be something that you might want to check into. Sorry about that. Let's see if I can get it to focus. So there's there's the seat there. Let's see if I can, let's just take it apart here. This is a 5/16 socket. The seat comes, or rather it comes out, and there is the where it's drilled out, and this is then stamped in. I don't want to remove that, but there's a fairly large space back there. It's hollow back in there, and that's where the air is supposed to come out. So if you have a radiator that doesn't appear to have a vent sticking out, this might be something you want to carefully look for this. Be aware that this does exist, and here's the example. Back in the day, if you wanted to order it, you would look in the book, in the code book here towards the back, and the number, the air valves in arid number 1, the code for the telegraph office was tambor, and if you wanted it to arrive if you lived in Roland Park in Baltimore City, you would probably want to use the Maryland-Pennsylvania Railroad, which had a terminus which delivered coal, and the affectionately known as the Ma and Pa. I remember that terminal right by the old dry cleaners down there, the bottom of Deep Dean. Or if you wanted to use the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, you use the code dandruff. So that's it. I hope that was of use or of interest. And here's another one here. This is more intact. So please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the number below, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.